Hello and welcome to my channel. So lately I've been working on a few Rust projects for some new videos, and whilst working on one of these projects I got distracted because you see a thought came into my mind that prompted me to stop what I was doing and write a Pac-Man style game. Now this does happen to me quite often, but I try to ignore it. But in this case I was slightly entertained by the idea, so I thought why not give it a try. So in this video I'll give you an overview on how I created this game to run in the terminal using emojis, and we'll cover things like how collision detection works and how ghosts find their way around the maze, which is actually done randomly but sometimes it looks like they know what they're doing. But first let's talk about the map itself. Now there's no way I was going to hardcode the map because that was probably going to be too tedious and error prone, so I needed to find a way to create the map easily. So once again I got distracted and set about making a map builder using HTML and JavaScript. Now the layout of the Pac-Man game is essentially rows and columns, so I was able to replicate this in HTML using some JavaScript. So here I have a map builder which essentially allows me to pick a cell and place a game object in it, such as a wall or a ghost. And then on the right you can see that the map builder provides me with the cell locations of each of those game objects. So all I have to do is once I've created the map is copy those locations and put them into a text file. Now in this version of the game I've added some extra dynamics. So I've added a rock object that stops the player from moving past it unless they acquire an explosive. And the reason why I did this was because the first few times I played the game it was a bit too easy, so what I decided to do was place the cherries behind a rock so that in order to get to the cherry you had to first detonate the rock. So it turned out that this has a positive side effect on the gameplay because ghosts are not allowed to move past rocks either. So this means that the player has to decide if they want to detonate a rock, exposing a new pathway for the ghost to follow. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at some code. So the code is actually split into two sections. We have the main thread that handles the user input and a separate thread that handles the game loop. So here we have the main input loop which is running on the main thread, and I'm reading exactly 1 byte to determine which key was pressed. And the match expression is matching against the AWSD key, so these are the keys for direction. So I've created an enum with 4 variants, left, right, down and up, and so when a direction is made I'm storing that variant into a variable. Now this variable input clone 2 is actually an arg that contains a mutex that guards a direction enum, and let me explain why that is. So as I said to you earlier, there's a separate thread that runs the game loop, but the input direction is taken on the main thread, so we need to get the input direction from the main thread into the game loop thread. So to do that, we need to use an arg, and this will allow us to share the data between the two threads. We also need to use a mutex so that we can provide safe synchronized access to the data. And so that's why we have 2 clones. So the first clone goes into the game loop and the second clone is used to capture the game input. Okay, so now before we get into the game loop, let's take a look at some pre-initialization code. So earlier we used the map builder to create a map, and so now we want to look at the code to load the map. So here I'm setting up a hash map to store all the game objects, and a game object is represented by a struct called entity. Now this entity struct holds some information about a game object, such as what type of object it is. For example, it could be a wall or it could be a ghost, and it also holds the position of the object. Now the key for the hash map is essential to collision detection because it contains the default location of the entity, but we'll take a look at that in more detail when we look at the game loop. So after setting up the hash map and then reading the map file, I'm passing the game objects into entities and putting those entities into the hash map. Now I've hard-coded the map file, but what I should have done was create some sort of map selector so that we can play the maps that we create using the map builder, but unfortunately I never got around to doing that. Okay, so now let's take a look at the game loop thread, and this part of the code is quite lengthy, so we'll focus on the collision detection and how the ghosts move around the map. Okay, so my first attempt in doing this was to iterate through all the game entities and draw them using their positions. But this meant that for every frame I'd have to clear the screen and redraw all the entities again. But the wall entity is the only static entity and that can't be interacted with, and so it didn't really make any sense to keep redrawing it on every frame. So what I decided to do was draw the walls just once before the loop started, and at the same time I could use the iterator to extract the ghost enemies and put them into a separate collection. Now the reason why I put the ghost enemy into a separate collection is because the ghost entity is the only other entity that is not static, which means I'd have to animate it just like the player. Now without this collection I'd have to iterate through all the entities, then find the ghost enemy and then animate it. Now that's a lot of entities to scan through just to find the ghost entity, so it just makes more sense to put the ghost entity into a separate collection. Okay, so now let's get into the collision detection between the player and other game objects. Now this part of the code is actually pretty easy because all we have to do is calculate the next position that the player wants to move to. And then using the next position, we can then do a lookup in the hash map to determine if an entity exists in that location. Now if an entity does exist in that location, then I'm checking to see what type it is. So if it's a wall, then we know that we have a collision, and if it's anything else, then it's a consumable and we can collect it and we can move through it. So in the code you can see a variable called collision, and this variable is set to false by default, and we're only setting it to true when the player comes across a wall. So here we're checking to see if the collision variable is false, because if it's false then we know that no collision has occurred and we can go ahead and make the move. And then once we've made the move, we need to remove any entity that's currently in that location. And the code that I just skipped over, well, that just sets up the scoreboard so that we can see how many points we have and how many lives and explosives we have remaining. Okay, so the last thing that we want to take a look at is how the ghosts move around the map. And it took me quite a few attempts to do this, and it does work, but I'm not entirely sure if it's the correct approach. Okay, so first I'm iterating through all the ghost enemies, and remember that the ghost enemies are in a separate collection. And then for each ghost, I'm evaluating whether the ghost can move in any particular direction from its current location. And if it has a valid move, then I'm putting that move into a vector. So here you can see two if statements where I'm checking to see if the ghost can move up or if it can move left. So then from the collection of moves, I selected a random move, and this initially seemed to work fine and I was very happy with it, but my happiness was very short-lived because I realized that there was a problem with it. And the issue was that once the ghost moved from one location to another, because of the randomness, it was also able to move back to its previous location, so this created an oscillating bouncing effect. So to solve this, I came up with the idea to track the ghost's current direction. So basically I could write an if statement to say if the ghost was traveling in one direction, then it couldn't travel in the opposite direction. So essentially that would be an invalid move and it wouldn't get added to the moves collection. And that seemed like it would fix the problem, and it did. So it looked like the ghosts were picking a path and they were sticking to it, and when they got to an intersection, they just randomly chose a different path. But there was still another unresolved issue, and that was that when the ghost would get to a particular point where there was no possible moves, then it would get stuck because it couldn't go back in the opposite direction because that's the way I had coded it. But thankfully there was a quick fix. All I had to do was check the moves vector to see if the length was 0, and if it was 0, then I knew that the ghost had no possible moves and I can alternate the direction. So by simply alternating the direction, the ghost could no longer travel along a path that got it stuck in the first place. So this means that the ghost can travel around freely, and when it gets stuck, it just turn around and find a different route. So that's how I created this basic Pac-Man style game. So what did I learn? Well, I learned that I shouldn't get distracted. But on a serious note, I did have some fun writing this, and I'm thinking about writing another one in the future. So if you have any ideas, then please let me know in the comments, and if it's doable, I'll try my best to get it done. In the meantime, if you found this video useful, then please consider giving it a like, and I'll see you all on the next video.